Katy Perry just won $1.8 million from an 85-year-old veteran who tried to back out of selling her his house. The internet is calling it unforgivable. His family is calling it heartless. And Katy Perry, she hasn't said a word. But the court documents, the timeline, and the medical records reveal this wasn't just a celebrity being cruel. This was 4 years of legal warfare over a $15 million Montecito mansion, a contract signed days after back surgery, and a man with Huntington's disease who says he wasn't in his right mind. One side says it's a valid contract, the other says it's exploitation. The judge ruled in Perry's favor. But the public? That's a different verdict entirely. July 2020, Carl Westcott, an 85-year-old U.S. Army veteran and founder of 1-800-Flowers, owns an 8-bedroom, 11-bathroom estate in Montecito, California. Worth $15 million? His home, where he planned to spend his final years. Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom want to buy it. They make an offer. Westcott accepts. A contract is signed for $15 million on July 14, 2020. But here's where it gets complicated. Carl Westcott had just returned home from major back surgery. He was on pain medication, opioids prescribed for post-surgical recovery. According to his family, he was not in a clear state of mind when he signed. 8 days later, Westcott sent a letter attempting to rescind the contract. His reason? He was not mentally competent due to medication and his post-surgery condition. Katy Perry's response? No, the deal stands. And if you try to back out, I'm suing you for damages. Fast forward to November 2024. After 4 years of legal battle, a judge ruled in Perry's favor. Carl Westcott, now battling Huntington's disease, a progressive and terminal brain disorder, has been ordered to pay Katy Perry $1.84 million. The damages? Lost rental income? Property repairs? Legal costs? All because Perry couldn't rent out the mansion while the lawsuit dragged on. The public reaction? Outrage. Headlines called it unforgivable. Westcott's family accused Perry of lacking empathy. But the judge found that Carl Westcott was mentally competent when he signed that contract. Medical experts testified. Evidence was presented, and the court ruled the deal was valid. So what's the truth? A legitimate business transaction? Or a vulnerable man, medicated and confused, being held to a contract he never should have signed? July 2020, the height of the pandemic. Wealthy buyers are fleeing cities for estates in Montecito, where Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, and Prince Harry all own property. Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom find Carl Westcott's estate. Negotiations happen quickly. An offer is made. Westcott accepts. A purchase agreement is signed on July 14, 2020, but the timeline matters. Carl Westcott had undergone major back surgery just days before signing. He was 79 years old at the time, recovering from a serious medical procedure. His family says he was on prescription opioids for pain management. They say he was groggy, confused, not himself. They say the real estate agent and business manager pushed the deal through while Westcott was vulnerable. On July 22, 2020, 8 days after signing, Westcott sent a letter to Perry's representatives attempting to rescind the contract. The letter cited his post-surgery condition and medication as reasons he was not mentally competent to enter into the agreement. Katy Perry's legal team responded, "No, the contract is binding. You signed it, we're moving forward." And when Westcott refused to complete the sale, Perry sued, not just to enforce the contract, but for damages, claiming she was losing money every day the deal wasn't closed. Perry's lawyers argued that because she couldn't take possession of the property during the dispute, she was losing potential rental income. Montecito estates like this can rent for $50,000 per month or more during peak season. Perry claimed she lost approximately $1.5 million in rental income over the 4 years the case dragged on. She also claimed additional costs for property maintenance, repairs, and legal fees. The question, was Carl Westcott mentally competent when he signed that contract? Carl Westcott is a decorated U.S. Army veteran who served his country. After military service, he became a successful entrepreneur, founding 1-800-Flowers, one of the most recognizable brands in America. By all accounts, he was a sharp businessman, a devoted father, and a man who built his wealth through hard work. But in the years following the contract signing, Westcott's health deteriorated rapidly. He was diagnosed with Huntington's disease, a progressive, incurable brain disorder that affects movement, cognition, and behavior. Huntington's disease is terminal. It's genetic, and it slowly robs people of their ability to think clearly, move independently, and live without assistance. There is no cure. According to statements from Westcott's son and family members, Carl wanted to live out his final days in the Montecito home he'd built and loved. It wasn't just real estate to him. It was his sanctuary. But Katy Perry's legal team wasn't backing down. They argued that a contract is a contract, that Westcott was evaluated by medical professionals at the time of signing and found to be competent, that his attempt to rescind was simply seller's remorse, the family's perspective. This was exploitation, taking advantage of an elderly man in a vulnerable moment, holding him to a decision made while medicated and recovering from surgery. The legal perspective: the contract was valid, Westcott had legal representation, he signed willingly. And unless there's clear evidence of incapacity or coercion, the deal stands. But the optics are undeniable. On one side, Katy Perry, worth an estimated $350 million, a global superstar who could buy a dozen Montecito estates. On the other side, Carl Westcott, an 85-year-old veteran with a terminal illness fighting to keep his home. The legal system doesn't care about optics, but the public does. From 2020 to 2024, this case wound through the California court system, depositions, medical evaluations, expert testimony. Katy Perry's legal strategy was clear: enforce the contract and recover damages. Her lawyers argued three main points. 1. Carl Westcott was mentally competent when he signed. Medical experts who evaluated him shortly after the signing testified that he understood what he was doing. 2. The contract was legally binding. Westcott had legal representation. He had time to review the terms. He signed willingly. 3. Perry suffered financial damages because she couldn't take possession of the property. She claimed lost rental income, property maintenance costs, and legal fees. Westcott's defense argued the opposite. 1. He was not in a sound mental state when he signed due to post-surgery medication and confusion. 2. The real estate agent and business manager pressured him into the deal while he was vulnerable. 3. Enforcing the contract against an elderly, terminally ill man was unconscionable. The case hinged on one question: was Carl Westcott mentally competent on July 14, 2020? The judge heard testimony from medical professionals, reviewed Westcott's medical records, examined the timeline of his surgery and medication. In November 2024, the judge ruled, yes, Carl Westcott was mentally competent when he signed the contract. According to court documents, the judge stated that Westcott had the mental capacity to understand the nature and probable consequences of his conduct. At the time of signing, the contract was valid, the sale would be enforced, and Carl Westcott would be required to pay Katy Perry $1.84 million in damages. The breakdown: approximately $1.5 million for lost rental income, plus additional amounts for property repairs, maintenance, and legal costs. Total, $1.84 million. The moment the ruling became public, social media exploded. A verified Twitter account posted, "Judge orders 85-year-old disabled veteran to pay Katy Perry over 15M Montecito mansion sale dispute." The replies were brutal. Thousands of comments calling Perry greedy, heartless, cruel. Instagram posts about the case racked up millions of views. One reel showed reactions to the news with the caption, "Katy Perry countersuing a disabled 85-year-old veteran." The comments became a referendum on celebrity culture, wealth inequality, and moral responsibility. She's worth $350 million, and she's taking money from a dying man. This is disgusting. He just wanted to stay in his home. Legal doesn't mean right. Realtor.com published an article with a headline that captured the sentiment, "Unforgivable." The article quoted Westcott's family members accusing Perry of lacking empathy and compassion. They described watching their father, now in his mid-80s and battling Huntington's disease, forced to fight a legal battle he never wanted. India Times covered the story, highlighting fierce online reactions and the moral debate the case triggered. But Katy Perry has remained completely silent. No public statement, no explanation, no attempt to defend her position or provide context. Her social media accounts continued posting promotional content as if nothing had happened. No acknowledgement of the controversy, no response to the accusations. That silence has been interpreted by many as indifference. Others suggest her lawyers have advised her to say nothing. Any public statement could be used in ongoing legal proceedings or future appeals. Still, the damage to her reputation is measurable. Google searches for Katy Perry lawsuit and Katy Perry veteran have spiked. Articles about the case have been shared millions of times. Whether the narrative is fair or complete is debatable. But in the age of social media, perception often shapes reality. Here's what gets lost in the outrage. The judge didn't rule on emotion. There was evidence, there was testimony, there was a legal standard. The court heard from medical professionals who evaluated Carl Westcott shortly after he signed the contract. Their testimony indicated he was oriented, coherent, and capable of understanding what he was signing. The court reviewed Westcott's medical records from the time of his surgery. Yes, he was on pain medication, but the dosage and type were not considered sufficient to render him legally incompetent. The legal standard for mental competency in contract law is high. It's not enough to be confused or groggy. You have to be so impaired that you literally cannot understand what you're agreeing to. The judge found that Westcott did not meet that standard. He understood he was selling his house. He understood the price. He had legal representation. From a purely legal perspective, the contract was valid. But the rental income claim raises questions. Katy Perry argued she lost $1.5 million because she couldn't rent the property during the 4-year legal battle, but she didn't own the property yet. The sale hadn't closed, so how could she claim lost rental income on a house she didn't legally possess? The answer lies in California real estate law. Under the doctrine of equitable conversion, when a buyer and seller enter into a purchase agreement, the buyer gains certain equitable rights to the property, even before the sale closes. If the seller breaches the contract, the buyer can claim damages for the loss of those rights, including lost use and rental income. In this case, Perry argued that Westcott's refusal to complete the sale prevented her from taking possession and generating rental income. The court agreed. Whether that's fair is open to interpretation, but legally, it's defensible under California precedent. The property repair and maintenance costs are more straightforward. During the 4-year dispute, the property still needed upkeep. The court ruled that since Westcott's breach caused the delay, he should bear those costs. Add it all up, lost rental income, property costs, legal fees, $1.84 million. From Perry's legal team's perspective, this was about enforcing a valid contract and recovering legitimate damages. From the public's perspective, a wealthy celebrity using the legal system to extract money from an elderly man with a terminal illness. Both interpretations exist, and that's what makes this case so divisive. Carl Westcott is still alive. He's still battling Huntington's disease, and he's now been ordered to pay Katy Perry $1.84 million. The question, can he afford to pay it? Westcott is a successful entrepreneur, but he's also 85 years old, retired, and dealing with mounting medical costs from a terminal illness. Huntington's disease requires round-the-clock care as it progresses. Home health aides, medical equipment, medications, it's extraordinarily expensive. If Westcott can't pay the judgment, Perry's legal team could place a lien on his assets. They could force the sale of the Montecito property. They could garnish his income or retirement accounts. The legal battle that started because Westcott wanted to stay in his home could end with him losing that home anyway, not to Perry as a buyer, but to her as a creditor, collecting a judgment. And the timeline pressure. How much time does Carl Westcott have left? Huntington's disease is terminal. He's now 85. Every day matters. His family has said publicly that he wanted to live out his final days in the home he loved. That wish is now in jeopardy. Perry won her legal victory. She'll receive $1.84 million, but her reputation has taken a hit. The public sees her differently now, and this case may be remembered longer than many of her songs. Because celebrity brand is everything, and Perry's brand has always been fun, colorful, empowering, roar, firework, songs about strength and resilience, but this case tells a different story. Whether that's fair is up for debate, but it's the story that's sticking. Two narratives exist here, and they're both built on facts. Narrative 1, Katy Perry entered into a valid contract to purchase a $15 million property. The seller tried to back out 8 days later. She had every legal right to enforce the contract and recover damages for the delay. The court agreed. Medical experts testified the seller was competent. The law was followed. Narrative 2, an 85-year-old veteran, days out of major surgery and on pain medication, signed a contract he immediately regretted. He tried to rescind it within a week. A wealthy celebrity with $350 million refused to let him out of the deal and spent 4 years suing him for nearly $2 million while he battled a terminal illness. Both narratives are factually accurate. Both lead to different conclusions. The legal system sided with narrative 1. The public is leaning toward narrative 2. And that gap between what's legal and what feels right is where this case lives. Some argue Perry had no choice. If she let Westcott out of the contract, it would set a precedent. Anyone could sign a real estate deal and back out by claiming they were medicated or confused. Contracts would become meaningless. Others argue that compassion should override legal technicalities, that a woman worth $350 million could have absorbed the loss and let an elderly man keep his home. There's no objectively correct answer. It depends on whether you prioritize legal consistency or human compassion, whether you believe contracts are sacred or that context matters more than paperwork. What's undeniable is the cost. Perry won in court, but her public image has shifted. Google her name now, and this lawsuit appears alongside her music career. The narrative has changed from pop star to the celebrity who sued a dying veteran. Whether that's fair depends on which narrative you believe. And Carl Westcott, he's still fighting, still battling Huntington's disease, still facing a $1.84 million judgment. His family has been vocal about their frustration and pain. In statements to media outlets, they've described the emotional toll of watching their father fight this battle while his health declines. One family member told Realtor.com, all he wanted was to stay in his home. That's it. And now he's being forced to pay nearly $2 million to someone who doesn't need it. Perry's team has not responded to those statements. The silence continues. So let's bring this full circle. Katy Perry won $1.84 million from Carl Westcott in a lawsuit over a Montecito mansion. The facts? A contract was signed in July 2020. Westcott attempted to rescind it 8 days later. Perry refused and sued for damages. 4 years of legal battle followed. In November 2024, a judge ruled the contract was valid, and Westcott was competent when he signed. Westcott was ordered to pay Perry $1.84 million. Legally, the case is closed. Perry won, the contract was valid, the damages were justified under California law. But the public conversation is far from over, because this case raises questions that go beyond the courtroom. Questions about power, about compassion, about what we owe each other when the law says one thing and our conscience says another. Katy Perry had the legal right to enforce that contract. No one disputes that. The judge agreed. The evidence supported it. But did she have the moral obligation to walk away? That's the question the public is asking. And it's a question without a clear answer. Some will say, a contract is a contract. Business is business. If we don't enforce agreements, the entire system falls apart. Others will say, sometimes you have to let things go. Sometimes compassion matters more than being right. Both positions are defensible. Both have merit. What's not defensible is pretending this case is simple. It's not. It's messy. It's complicated. It's a collision between legal rights and human vulnerability. And the outcome, whatever you think of it, will be remembered. Carl Westcott will either pay the judgment or lose his home. Katy Perry will receive the money and continue her career. And the public will continue debating whether justice was served or whether something important was lost. The one-line takeaway, she won the case. The public is still deciding the rest. So here's the question. Was Katy Perry right to pursue this lawsuit? Not legally right. We know the answer to that. The judge ruled. But was she right? Would you have enforced the contract? Or would you have walked away? Drop your answer in the comments. Be honest. Because this story isn't just about celebrities and mansions. It's about the choices we make when we have the legal right to do something, but maybe not the moral clarity. And it's about what we value more, being right or being kind. Subscribe if you want more stories that go beyond the headlines. Next video drops in 3 days.